All right, good morning and peace to everybody in the name of Jesus. Peace to everybody that's tuned in here live. Peace to everybody that may be watching at a later time. My name is Brother Cam, and to this morning we got Brother Cephas with us. Um, and we're just here to bring out a few scriptures. This week's, we just, kind of dealing with, each week do a lesson on Black history according to the Bible. So this morning, Brother Cephas is going to bring us a lesson on your identity inside the Bible, part two. This is just a follow up from last week's lesson on identity in the Bible. We talked about color. So this week, part two will be about the curses that are found inside the Bible. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Brother Cephas, and I'll let him jump right into it.
Peace, everybody tuning in. Thank you again, Brother Cam, for having me. The conversation for today, as Brother Cam has said, is just finding our identity inside of the Bible. And one thing that the Bible really, really, at an extensive rate, tries to lay out is the curses. And the reason why is because God is so great at making things very plain and really trying to get your attention and making things obvious, because he understands how we are as a people. We are the children of Israel, and our identity is inside of this Bible, right? We talk a lot about how, and we're gonna talk a lot about slavery too, because slavery plays a role in figuring out who we are. We're gonna see that inside of the Bible, because that is a tool that the Lord has used, not just in our modern time, but if you look at the history of the Israelites, whenever Israel started tripping, he would use that as a tool, because he's like, you don't want to serve me? All right, I'm going to have you serve these other nations. And that's a tool he's used time and time after time. And he used that as a sign, because us as Black people, we seek after a sign. Even when Jesus was walking the earth, and I'm gonna get into this lesson, but even when Jesus was walking the earth and he's performing miracles, he's healing, he's doing this, that, and the third, the Pharisees, all they could do is ask him, show us a sign, show us a sign. But they'll only do that in a tempting fashion because they didn't believe. So he understands how we operate. We look for a sign, so much so that we follow signs, horoscope signs, to tell us how we feel, to tell us how our day is going to go, right? Just something just to tie it to a modern day sense. But the Lord, we're going to read how he allows certain curses on us in our time to be for a sign, to let you know, hey, in the midst of this captivity, my people are going through certain things. We're really going through hell. We're going through tribulation. We're going through, having to work harder than the next man just to get the bottom of the barrel. Just so much more of at a disadvantage compared to everybody else around us. And on top of that, bondage. And he put that out there so that way, once we see that going on, when we read it inside the Bible, it should be able to click with us. Oh, this is why I'm going through it. See, something that I realized, especially being in America, is that we have the privilege of, hey, we get to go have a nice car, we get to go get a good job, right? We get to be able to make some money inside this country on an individual level. And you've seen some of us be able to have great success in this country. But one thing we have to realize is that when you look at all the people who came to this country, how did they get here, right? They came here with the opportunity of, I'm going to build something for my family, for my lineage, and so forth. They came here to seek an opportunity, whether it be the Mexicans, the Indians, the anybody from all these other countries. However, when you look at us, we were taken here by force. And even though we was emancipated back in 1865, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate the privileges that I have in this modern time. But you got to think about the fact that if we were brought here on ships and we are so-called free, why haven't we gone back home? Wouldn't freedom look like us being delivered from our captive land and going back home, that's what the real freedom would be. It's not just, okay, yeah, I get to be here and I don't have to be under the same living circumstances as my ancestors were, which I don't want to be, and I'm grateful I'm not. But at the same time, why is it that we never try to think to ourselves, let's go back home? And we're going to see in this Bible that the Lord took that off of the table for us anyway. He's not going to allow us to go back home because he's trying to really hammer down in our minds. Because one, we are stiff-necked people. We don't want to listen to God. We don't want to acknowledge that we got curses, right? So he's going to let us be here until it click with us. So this lesson right here is just to really get into some of the curses that the Bible talks about that's going to be on the children of Israel. See, we want to talk about being blessed and highly favored, but you can't be blessed without there being a curse, right? Just like you wouldn't understand the good in things unless there was some form of evil that you experience. It's the evil that you experience that allows you to realize, oh, there's something called good out here, right? Well, same thing applies to the blessings and curses. And I remember when I was, right before I found the truth, there was a person at a church that I went to. He actually went to Deuteronomy 28, which is where we're going to start at. Because again, we're going to get straight into it. He brought me to Deuteronomy 28 because he's like, if you're serving God, you're going to be able to experience all of these blessings that the Lord is going to give you. And he wasn't even reading in the proper context because we wasn't even keeping the commandments. But we're going to see the curses and the blessings that are on us as a people. It's predicated on the commandments of God. See, our people have not been wanting to keep the commandments of God for centuries, for millennia, and that's why we're here in the situation we are right now. And that's why, as we talked in a previous lesson, I always said that our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Well, that lack of knowledge is because we're not submitting to the commandments of God. So Deuteronomy 28, and let's sort of map this out, because as we're reading certain things going on, you should be able to see yourself in this. Because God put it out here for a reason, because God is a just God. He has punishments and he has rewards, and they're based on our actions, our obedience to him. So we can't get mad at God for our situation. No, it's for us to see our situation and repent. It's to turn back to the Lord and start doing our responsibility towards God. So Deuteronomy 28, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. And when you get there, go ahead and read, please.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
See, this is again, that individual actually brought this to me, and it didn't even click with me at the time that I read it. But it says, it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. This is the Lord putting out stipulations. See, when you come into a covenant with the Lord, it's an agreement, right? I'm going to perform these tasks and duties, and you're going to perform these tasks and duties. God is going to be a faithful creator. He's going to bless us. He's going to do anything that we need him to do. But in return, we need to be faithful to him. And what does being faithful to him look like? It looks like this: to hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God. What he tell you to do, you do it. To observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. See, if you look at us right now, the children of Israel, the black man and black woman scattered to the four corners of the earth, that's not how we look like right now. We at the bottom. And I mentioned this, plenty of times, but like I said, I don't really subscribe to Dr. Umar, but he made a profound statement, and he don't even understand the magnitude of his statement. He said, I traveled the world, and everywhere I go, we are in the same predicament. We are in the same condition. And it's not because, we lack social economic skills. It's not because we lack financial literacy. It's because when when God is on an opposing side of you, you will never succeed. Like you can read it, what is it in Romans where it says, if God be for us, who can stand against us? Yeah, nothing can beat you when God is on your side. But what does it look like when God is on the opposing side? It looks like how we look like today. We are not going to be high above all the nations of the earth. Jump down to verse 13.
Verse 13, and the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail.
Because
And
we're supposed to be blessed and highly favored, right? Well, that could be really, it really only applied to Mary because she was giving birth to the Messiah. You know, that's a whole other conversation. But if you wanted to be blessed, it's predicated off these commandments. You know, if you read this chapter, it's a good chapter to read. You know, there's definitely some blessings here that you want to read, but we want to label out the curses because that's what you need to read. That's what you need to see so you can understand why this Bible is talking about you. But if you were going to keep the commandments, it says the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail. Go ahead.
And thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath.
Go ahead.
If that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them.
And the thing is, too, like I said, because we are in a country where, right, we're in a country where we have these privileges to make money, we don't think about nationhood anymore. We don't think about it. We don't think about the fact that the Chinese, they open up these shops we understand they open up shops in our communities, right? And then they take that money and spend it in their communities. So guess what? They say, I think 2 times the amount of money is left because not only is it not spent with our people, but it's not circulating in our community because it's taken out once when we make the purchase and it's taken out again because it doesn't go back in it. It stays in the community, right? So we don't think about nationhood. What we think about is, let me just get my bread up. Let me just make this money. Because, again, we have been stripped of our identity. See, a white man, he'll tell you, I'm Russian or I'm Poland or I'm Italian. They can tell you about their nationhood. But we've been so far moved of it, we don't even think about it. Oh, yeah, I'm black. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm just a color in a crayon box. But that's what it looks like when you've been the tail all this time and now you've been freed and now you can make some money. So I don't need to think about where I come from. Why? Because I got this nice car, right? I live in quote unquote luxury. I ain't thinking about going back home. I ain't cursed, brother. And it's funny because we're the only people who talk about breaking generational curse. You don't hear no white person say it. You don't hear no Chinese man, oh, I'm breaking generational curse. You don't hear nobody say that but us. But we want to go again because now we make some money. We thinking that we're breaking these curses because we make some money. No, you've been misinformed. Really, you've been given the okie doke. They dangling a carrot in front of your face with this money, with a particular lifestyle, and distracting you from the real issue. Is you still have, as a nation, we still have a problem with God. We're not going to be able to succeed instead again, because look, we have the opportunity to be blessed now. It said right here, shall be the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. Go ahead.
If that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day, to observe and to do them.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them.
See, again, he's trying to show us you need to stay on this narrow path. Verse 15.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
See, but the Lord, he letting you know, hey, just as well as I can bless you, I could curse you as well. So we can't have the blessing out here and just completely ignore that cursings can exist. So if there's a blessing out here and there's a cursing, we got to be able to read the fine print. Like these rappers and these entertainers, when they get into these contracts with these record labels, right, or these entertainment company in this industry, guess what? You want to have lawyers to read the fine print. Well, guess what? You got to do the same thing when it comes to the contract that we making with the Lord, that our ancestors made with the Lord centuries ago. And guess what? That contract still living till this day. The same agreement still living till this day. That's why we still living in the conditions we are now, because of their disobedience, we are suffering the repercussions. And because we still being disobedient to this time, we gonna find our condition and ourselves in this Bible based off the curses. Because he's saying right here, but it shall come to pass that thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Verse 16.
Cursed shalt thou be in the city,
He
and
said, cursed thou shalt be in this. Go ahead.
Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
You're going to be saying, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. It don't matter where you go, you're going to have some problems. And you think about it too, because even though we not privy to it, these other nations know, right? Because as soon as we move into, we like, we run our own people. We're like, man, it's kind of crazy out here. People act a little crazy, right? They act a little hostile. And we living under some hostile conditions sometimes, so I get it. But what do? We try to make a little money. We try to move out. We try to move around these other nations. And what happened? You start seeing some for sale signs going up. Because they understand that once you move in, it's going to come with you. What's going to come with you? These curses. Property value going to go down. Crime going to come up. Like I grew up in Canton, Georgia myself, and I grew up amongst white people. I did. And it was very peaceful. And I've moved. I think it's been about 6-7 years now since I moved. And guess what? We up there now. And I've heard and I've seen the crime rate has steadily gone up because these curses aren't upon us. Because you're going to see, we're going to touch a little bit how not only do we have an issue where the Lord is sending a sword through the house, right, through our people, we're not even treating ourselves correctly. But it's part of the curses where it says that our mindset towards each other is even going to be evil towards one another when we have these curses upon us. He's saying, cursed shalt thou be in the city, cursed shalt thou be in the field. Jump down to verse 21.
The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee.
Yeah.
Until he have consumed thee from off the land, whether thou goest to possess it.
And he's talking about sickness that's going to be upon us, right? And I always think about the fact that we had a period with COVID, right? Where a lot of people were starting to get sick. And we like, nah, black people can't get COVID, right? We can't get sick. That don't affect us. And shortly after that statement was just be thrown out loosely, what happened? Black people start getting it rapidly. It was being found more common in us than anyone else. Why? Because the Lord shall make pestilence to cleave unto thee, right? And then on top of that, we not keeping the dietary law of God. We eating these unclean foods, and we eating all this pork and these crabs and seafood balls and so forth. What that leading to? Gout, high blood pressure, diabetes. We got all these sicknesses on us because the Lord is sending this sword through our house because he's trying to get our attention. You're not going to obey me. Guess what? I'm going to allow these curses to be on you. I'm going to allow this pestilence to be, this disease, this sickness to be on you, right? Keep going. Jump down to verse 23 and keep reading from there.
And your heaven that is over your head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron.
And the reason why he's saying that is because he's trying to tell you, because when we look at us as a people, we got so many churches, right? You look at any other community, any other nation of people, we got more churches than anybody, right? We doing more praying and seeking the Lord than anybody. You would think if we were seeking the Lord as much as we claim that we are and having all these churches on every corner, that we would be blessed, that we would have everything that we asked for, that we wouldn't have any problems in our community. Because everything we got going on, we want to accredit it to the Lord. Because we have some spiritual connection with God compared to other people. We do. And it's because we're really the priest of God. We've just been so far removed. But because we've been so disobedient and ignorant of it, and we're not keeping his commandments, he's saying that heaven that is over thy head shall be brass. You seeking the Lord, you calling on him. He's not answering the prayers. He's not doing that. Your kids is dying in the street. You praying for them. Guess what? They dying in the street. Grandma's praying for you. They die. Your kids died in the street. People dying of disease. You know what I'm saying? We not getting the jobs that we desire. As a nation of people, the Lord is not answering us. Now, you may see some miracles here happen here and there. The Lord is not where He's not going to give you nothing, because we're going to see at the end of the lesson, He's not going to allow us to fall into not like, He's not going to destroy us utterly. So He do got to answer some prayers. But as a whole, He says, thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass. Like you shut out. You can't reach the Lord. And the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Verse 24, what's that say?
The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust.
See, you calling the Lord, you asking for some rain. He's sending some rain. He ain't sending you no rain. He's sending you powder and dust. How you like think about it? Think about being dependent on agriculture and you waiting on the rain to give you some crops for you to eat. And instead of sending some rain, He's sending you some powder and dust. He ain't answering your prayers. That's like He tell you in Proverbs 28, verse 9. He says, he that turneth his ear from hearing the law, his prayer shall be an abomination. Because we're not listening to Him, He rejecting us. Go ahead.
Verse 25.
Yeah.
The Lord shall cause thee. I didn't finish. Oh, I'm sorry. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust.
Right.
From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed.
Go ahead. 25.
The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies.
Right.
Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them.
Right.
And shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
So you can look at those previous curses that we're reading and be like, oh man, those is pretty generic. That could apply to anybody. Anybody could get sick, right? But now we're going to start adding some layers to this because, again, these curses going to be a sign upon us. And the Lord, He like to get real specific. Some things, okay, everybody experience sickness, but guess what? Now He's going to show you something. He said, the Lord shall cause you to be smitten before thy enemies. Thou shalt go in one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. See, it's crazy because we're going to bookmark here. Because I always thought about the fact, hey, we grew up on these slave plantations, not us, but our ancestors were on these slave plantations, and you would have just one man or a family that ran the whole plantation, but you would have maybe 10, 20, maybe sometimes hundreds of slaves. And you would think, man, these people are bred to be strong and powerful and to be able to endure hardship. You think they would unite and just revolt and take over, right? And you've had Nat Turners, you had different stories of people who did that. And you would think, why will we not be able to overcome? Right? Because you're not going to stop what the Lord put out as a curse upon us. Because if God is for us, yeah, you're going to win. But when He's on the opposing side, your arms is too short to box with God. He says, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Let's go over to Deuteronomy 32 real quick. We're going to read one verse 30. Because you're gonna be removed to all the kingdoms of the earth. He's going to make it specific. When you look in that history, there's only one nation of people that have been taken out of a land, and we don't even read about our own history to understand who is this applying to. And we're gonna bring this into modern day. We're gonna bring it into Jesus' time where He talks about it as well. But we was removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And He said as well, you're gonna go in one way before them, you're gonna flee 7 ways. And like I said, how is it that we got all these people on a plantation, bred to be strong, powerful, and to be able to endure hardship and just be able to be the best of the best, right? But we submitting to this one family. How is that? How is that we can't put our minds together and put our strengths together to revolt and take over the country? How is that? Why is that not possible, right? Verse 30.
How should one chase 1,000
right,
and 2 put 10,000 to flight, except their rock had sold them and Lord had shut them up?
Right? Because you can't fight. See, we thinking our problem is with this man that we see. Our problem ain't with that man. Our problem is really we've been disobeying the Lord, and He's using these nations to keep us oppressed. That's what He's doing. He says, how should one chase 1,000 and 2 put 10,000 to fight? How is it? We got this one family and this whole plantation of Negroes, right? Bred nice and strong. right? On an auction block. That's a good nigga right there. He'll pick all day. He'll pick all night, right? He gonna be able to do everything you need him to do. We bred for this. A whole plantation work. And you would think this, we could just take over, but nah, you got this one family that's gonna keep us in subjection. Why? How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their raw cat sold them? See, we thinking it's a problem with the white man. No, God got them in power. God got them authority. God sold us on to them and the Lord has shut us up. That's why we was in that situation. That's why we couldn't overcome, because the Lord wouldn't allow it. We gonna be even, it don't matter how strong, intelligent, whatever we are, we gonna be submissive to that authority. But let's go back to Deuteronomy 28, because this is talking about a particular people. We should be able to read these curses and line it up with us, because it only happened to one. Yeah, you've seen slavery here and there, but when you take a nation of people, we're going to pick it up at verse 25. We're going to read 25 again. But when you take a nation of people and you scatter them to the four corners of the earth, and they have yet to come back home, you have to ask yourself, who is that? Because we out here in the Americas, we out here in the Caribbeans, we out here in Europe, we out here in Russia, we out here in China, we out here in Africa as well. Why? Because it says the Lord shall cause you to be smitten before the enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and thou shalt be removed into what? All the kingdoms of the earth. See, that only applied to one person. Jump down to verse 28.
Verse 28, the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart.
And I think about that too, because it said the Lord shall smite thee with madness. Because when you look at us, especially out here, I don't know how it is over there in other places, but especially in America, is you can't even smile at a brother no more. Everybody got a mean mug with each other. Why? Because he smiting us with madness, with blindness and astonishment of heart. So where, like we said, if you keep reading, I think it's in third. I don't know if we're going to read it here, but you should read this chapter on your own time, where it says that a man's spirit is going to be turned against his own family, his own brother. Well, we're not going to have that love that we have for one another. It's going to be taken off the table. And you can see it in our communities till this day, especially because in Matthew chapter 24, it tells you that because iniquity shall abound, or sin shall abound, the hearts of many shall wax cold. And that's very prevalent in our community. But keep reading. Jump down to keep reading.
Verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, and the blind gropeth in darkness.
Right.
And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways.
Right.
And you shall be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
Because that's how it is for us. This says, thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. You know what I'm saying? We getting up, working hard, and like, man, I wish it was nighttime. Nighttime come, man, you wish it was you still working hard, because you got people working in graveyard shifts as well. And you got a lot going on in terms of we just trying to make it as a nation of people on a day-to-day. Like I said, some of us may have some funds, may have some money, but as a whole, we are set back. We are very behind. And we're thinking that money is the solution to our problems, but it's not. It's really God, because we still in our captive's land. We still have no representation. Like I remember, I think it was T.I. He made a statement where he said that they were trying to do something in terms of reparations, trying to put that on the table for us, right? But they can't acknowledge giving us any form of representation because we don't have any identity. We don't have any form of nationhood. For Black people? Like that's not an identity, y'all. Like, we got to understand that. Unfortunately, we go under that because we don't know anything else. So we try to attach ourselves to anything. We want to say we Moors. We want to say we're a sovereign state. We try to attach ourselves to anything. But in reality, your identity is in this Bible. And really what happens is when you really acknowledge that you're an Israelite, it really puts a responsibility on us that, truth be told, we don't want on us. And we're going to look at that. But it says in verse 29, thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. Thou shalt only be oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Verse 30.
Thou shalt betroth the wife,
Right.
and another man shall lie with her.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shall not gather the grapes thereof.
Because everything that you do is going to be for these other nations. Right? So much so you're going to have a wife and another man going to lie with her. Where did you hear about that? Where did you read about that? When you look at the torture, right, that our people was going through during these slave times, guess what? And they didn't even have to like us, but it was just a form of showing their power over us. Thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with. It's not like it's doing like, hey, here go my wife. Like we volunteering our wives to get taken by another man. Nah, this is by force. And we're gonna build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein, because it ain't for us. It's for, like they said, America was built by free labor. We were able to be such a great country because they got such great labor. They were able to capitalize a great return off of the work that we did. And guess what? We reaped zero benefits of it. Right? Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes there. Jump down to verse 32.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
Right. You're going to put them on the auction block? Go ahead. My bad.
And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
Right. And that's what so happened. The sons and daughters shall be given to another people. Now I shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand, because we got no power. The Lord has stripped us of any power we got in this situation. So much so our sons and our daughters, they're going to go on the auction blocks. They're going to be sold off, carted off, where to slavery, elsewhere to do some labor. Right? Well, at one point, we were just considered chattel. Right? We were just considered to be property. And then, hey, at one point, they said, listen, we'll make you 3/5 of a man just so you could have some voting rights. But they didn't want to get beside ourselves. You still property. You still just a beast at the end of the day doing the work that I need you to do. So much so, hey, I need some money. I'm going to sell your son because you're just property. Just imagine having garage sales back in the 1800s. Somebody come by your house and say, oh, that's a nice looking Negro right there. How much you go for it? Instead of selling a lawnmower that don't work no more, right? You sell some Negroes. Why? Because thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. But jump down to verse 37 and read that.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Because you, again, being stripped of your identity. You're going to be an astonishment. You're going to be a proverb. And what is a proverb? Everybody's got a story or a comment to make about you. And I just always think about the fact that, hey, everybody loves chicken with watermelon, but it's a stereotype amongst the Black community that we just made fun of, right? For it. You got all types of just comments that they make about you in a byword. Instead of being called by what you really are, an Israelite, they're going to call you, it started out with colored. Then it was Negro, right? Then it was nigga. There was African American. You got all these things. And God forbid somebody call you a colored person now, but 50 years ago, that was on your birth certificate. You was considered colored. But you got all these bywords among all the nations with the Lord shall lead thee, because you ain't being called by who you really are. But keep going. Jump down to verse 45.
Verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till you be destroyed.
Right.
Because you hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord your God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
And this chapter right here is a 68 verse chapter. The first 14 verses is about blessings. The rest is about all kinds of curses that are going to be upon us. Now, I only just read a few, But we saw how, hey, we're gonna have madness, blindness, and astonishment of heart. You know, we're gonna have slavery put upon us. We're gonna be casted out to all the nations of the earth. Our sons and our daughters shall be sold into another people. We're gonna have a wife, another man gonna lie with her. We're gonna be building houses, we're gonna be planting vineyards, right? But it ain't gonna be for our benefit, it's gonna be for another people. And there's even more curses. We just touch it. We really just scratching the surface. But you should be able to find your heritage inside of this book, Black Man and Black Woman. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee this day. And all these curses are coming upon us. Why? Because we not keeping the commandments of God. Jump down to verse 48.
Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
See, you don't want to serve me? You don't want to keep my commandments? I'm going to send you over to these other nations. You're going to serve them. And that's what has happened to us as a nation of people. And guess what? We have yet to go back home. And in reality, we still serving these other nations. Right? Now, we do have the privilege now. We can have some liberties here in America and these other countries that we're in. But guess what? We've yet to go home. We've yet to build ourselves as a nation, build a civilization, do our own independent thing. We can't do it. Not in another man's land. We're going to be in this situation until the Lord get back. Read verse 46.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
See, this is what I'm glad I saw verse 46, because I was about to skip it. But you see, this is going to be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder upon thy seed forever. You're going to serve thine enemies, which the land shall send thee against thee, in hunger and in thirst. You need some food, you're going to get it from them. You need something to drink, you're going to get it from them. And it's crazy because now we love to eat pork. We love to eat, crab legs and shrimp, all the things that are really supposed to be the bottom of the barrel, the scraps. But that's what they fed us because we was animals to them. So they gave us the scraps, and now we consider them to be delicacies, right? We're going to come to them in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness. They're going to give us our clothing. And in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Jump down to verse 64.
Verse 64 reads, And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there you shall serve other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, even wood and stone.
See, that's another curse that we need to pay attention to. He said he shall scatter thee among all people. Like we saw, we're going to move it into all the kingdoms of the earth, right? So here it's saying the Lord shall scatter thee among all the people from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve the gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And you find this amongst all these other nations. And what are we doing? Serving these false idols. Serving these other gods.
Yeah.
You got there's all these different religions out there. Guess what? You're going to find a brother there. Some way, shape, or form, we're going to be in these religions. Why? Because we just love serving all these other gods except the true and living God, which is the God of Israel, which is really Jesus Christ. Right? Not this fabricated Christianity that we've been force-fed, but the God of this Bible, the Christianity of this Bible. Like I tell you in Acts chapter 11, the first Christians were Jews, but they kept the commandments of God. They didn't go according to the status quo of today. And because of that, guess what? He gonna scatter us among all people. And we're gonna be you don't want to serve me? Well, guess what? Get out of my land and serve your false idols there and experience these curses. Jump down to verse 68.
Verse 68, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Right.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, you shall see it no more again.
Right.
And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
So pay attention to this. This is basically the cherry on top, because he's telling you the mode of transportation as to how you're going to go into this captivity. So you say Egypt here, but we saw in verse 64 where it says, we're going to be scattered among all the people of the earth, because Egypt to us is just a house of bondage. And we didn't even go into Egypt through ships the first time, right? But we're going to a worldwide Egypt, a worldwide house of bondage. That's why you need the ships. How did you get to America? On ships. How did you get to the Caribbeans? On ships, and so forth. Why? Because the Lord, he's putting this curse on you as a sign and a wonder. So you will wonder to yourself, why is all this going on? And then when you look in this Bible, it puts all the pieces together. So you should be able to find your identity inside of this Bible based off the curses that God has put upon us. And he says right here, and the Lord shall bring thee again into Egypt, again with ships, by the word whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen, which is a male slave, and bondwomen, which is a female slave, and no man shall buy you. No man is going to redeem you. You ain't gonna get no reparations, no restitution. I saw recently they put together like a huge book of a request, a demand for reparations that they're going to put before the U.S. Congress or something to that effect, trying to demand reparations. Guess what? It's not going to come to pass. Why? Because no man shall buy it. No matter how hard you try, the Lord won't allow it. Because we trying to seek man for our redemption when the Lord is telling you, you're going to have to seek me. That's the only way you're going to get out the situation. But let's go over to Luke chapter 21. Because Jesus is going to speed it up to modern time. He going to let you know. You thinking, oh, this got to be somebody else. No, the Lord going to let you know this is us. And this is one key indicator here. Luke chapter 21. I'm going to read two verses here, 20 and 24. When you get there, go ahead and read, please. Luke chapter 21. We'll pick it up at verse 20.
Verse 20, and when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is near.
Because the Lord, he's talking about he really touched on two things. He's talking about when we're going to get taken out of this land, because he's telling them about how the temple is going to be destroyed. And one of the things that you're going to see that's going to be an indicator, hey, when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. And you can look it up in 70 AD. That's a time, 70 AD, when the Romans came in, they built a trench around Jerusalem and they starved us out for a long period of time. And then they came in and they just started slaughtering us. And then you have people who were able to escape. But what happened to them? Jump down to verse 24.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations.
See, you not going to escape the wrath of God, because our ancestors were disobedient. And guess what? Now we are on the receiving end of the Lord's recompense that's been lasting for generations. Like he tell you in Exodus chapter 20, that he is visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation. He going to keep dealing with us until we get it right. But he not gonna take his foot off the gas. He gonna keep hurting us until we figure it out. Shall be led away captive into all nations. Jerusalem shall be, go ahead.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
And that won't take place. Read verse 25.
And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars.
We'll stop right there. I'm just showing you when is it going to be fulfilled. He's really giving you a time frame here. When the Lord get back. Because you read, that's the signs that are going to be taking place when the Lord get back. It said the sun is going to lose its light. The moon going to be blood, right? The stars going to be falling. He's going to shake up the earth. That's when the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. We not going to be in our land until the Lord get back. Like it says right here, in Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentile until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Turn over to Obadiah chapter 1. Because in addition to us having this slavery upon us, being taken out of our land, going through all these different conditions, guess what? We've been stripped of our identity. And there's another person that's impersonating us. Because when you look in history, you had Abraham had Isaac, and Isaac had twin boys. He had Jacob and he had Esau. And really what you're seeing is you having these Jews that are claiming to be Jews, but they are not, is really of another lineage, which was Esau's lineage. They came in and they took our identity. And you can read it in the Bible. The Lord is exposing it. Obadiah chapter 1, read verse 1. And when you get there, read verse 8. When you get there, go ahead and read, please.
Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and understanding out of the mount of Esau?
Jump down to verse 11 because he's addressing Esau for what they did. Read verse 11.
In the day that you stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces,
Talking
and
about,
foreigners,
go ahead.
And foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even you was that's one of them.
See, Israel is being taken out of the land, and if you understand some history, you can read it in the Bible as well. See, Esau, Edom had been right beneath us on a physical landmass. They was right beneath us, and to be able to actually keep them as a form of defense towards other nations, we taught them our ways and our practices as to how we serve God. So they were familiar with our methods. And guess what? Esau sold his birthright to Jacob anyway, and he still tried to redeem it. So he always felt as if he was entitled to it. So guess what? In the day that the Lord kicked us out of the land, it says, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, talking in his referring to Jacob, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou was as one of them. You was in there. We're not going to go there, but you can read Psalms chapter 83, where it said there was a conspiracy amongst the nations saying, let us cut them off from being a nation, right? So that the name of Israel shall be no more. They took that from us. And Esau was part of that. Jump down to verse 13. What that say?
You shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity.
They laid hand on our substance. So you see these people right now with the Temple Institute, these fake Jews, they out there building another temple, looking to sacrifice and do things pertaining to the services of God. Those don't belong to them. It belong to us. Now, we don't need to be sacrificing animals no more. So they got it backwards because they don't even believe in the Messiah. Our ultimate sacrifice is Jesus, but we still need to be keeping the commandments of God. But in terms of being the priest of God or God's chosen people, they've took that identity for us. And guess what? They laid hands on our substance in the day of our calamity. The Lord is calling it out. He's calling a spade a spade. You shouldn't have been doing this. Go to Revelations 2 and 9. I'm going to read one verse there. Revelations 2 and 9. And then after that, we got one verse and we're gonna end it there. Revelations 2 and verse 9. And when you get there, go ahead and read. Because these people, they laid hold on their substance and they claiming to be something that they're not. Verse 9.
I know thy works and tribulation and poverty,
right?
But you are rich.
Talking about Israel.
Right.
He's talking about Israel. He's saying, I know thy works and thy tribulation and thy poverty. Right? Because he understands what we're going through. But thou art rich. How can you be in poverty and rich at the same time? Because you got the understanding of the word of God. Our ancestors, where you read in Romans chapter 9, verse 4, where it says, who are the Israelites? To whom pertaineth the adoption. We was adopted into the God family. Right? And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are what?
Which say they are Jews and are not.
Go ahead.
But are the synagogue of Satan.
See, they faking the funk. They're not even believing in the Lord. They really following after satanic ways because they're not even following after the calendar of the Lord. They want to act as if they're the priests of God, but they don't even believe in the Messiah. They got their own practices. They want to give you Hanukkah. They want to give you Rosh Hashanah. The Lord's New Year is in the springtime when everything's coming back to life. They want to say that trumpets around trumpets is the New Year's. False. See, they all kinds of backwards, because you're not going to be able to get it right unless the priest of God is on their job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why it says, I know that works in tribulation and poverty for us, but thou art rich. Serving the Lord. And if we can do that, we can tap into that wealth. See, we worried about trying to make some physical money in this world, and truth be told, hey, this world is going to fall apart, and this dollar is losing its value every single day. So much so, it's not even the lead power in value anymore. I mean, the pound is more valuable than the dollar. And then another form of currency, I forgot what it's called, Chinese use it, that has more power than the dollar. It's losing its value, right? So instead of trying to reach after this money, trying to live a lifestyle that this country's trying to give you, seek the Lord. Go back to your identity, because that's where your real wealth is. And understand who you are as a nation of people. Let's go over to Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6. We're going to end it there. Because we saw how we were stripped of our identity. We saw we was taken out of our land into all the four corners of the earth, all the nations of the earth, serving these false gods, sold into slavery, right? Nobody's going to redeem us. Somebody's going to take our wives, right? We planting vineyards, building houses that don't benefit us at all. All these different kind of curses being upon us, and the Lord spelling it out bit by bit, so we can really see it as a sign. So when we read it and we look upon our condition, we can line it up. In addition to that, you got someone impersonating being the priest of God when they're not, and the Lord calling it out. But even with all that going on, understand this, verse 6.
For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed.
Because the Lord got an oath he made with Abraham. He said that his seed, right, is going to be able to get an everlasting possession, and his seed going to be as a number of the sands of the sea and as the stars in the sky. We're not going to go to Jeremiah chapter 31, but in Jeremiah chapter 31, it tells you how he said, as he put an ordinance as the sun and the moon in the sky, how they do their job every single day faithfully without stopping. He said, as long as they in the sky, you going to remain as a people. You going to be my people. Jacob, you will not be consumed. Why? Because for I am the Lord, I change not. So this was a lesson just to touch on some curses. There's plenty of more that you can read on, but I would advise you read the whole chapter Deuteronomy 28. You got some places here in Deuteronomy chapter 32. You got Isaiah chapter 42. You got Isaiah chapter 5. All throughout this Bible, the Lord is trying to get your attention, let you know, hey, pay attention to your condition, and you can line it up in this book. So you can understand who you are as a nation of people. You are the children of Israel. And I hope somebody got some understanding.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, brothers and sisters. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Brother Cephas, for another in-depth lesson. You know, lessons like this are very hard to kind of keep, short. Because I understand, because these when you start talking about the identity inside the Bible of the Israelites and the truth, and you get into the curses. It's real deep. Those curses, they started back then, and they've been passed all the way down into generations. So it's been passed from generation to generation. Times have changed, but the curses are still the same. Like just for example, with how one of the curses that stood out to me was the Deuteronomy 28, and I think it was maybe 40 something, where it said, hey, y'all are gonna be sold. You're gonna be your kids are gonna be given to other people, and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be you're gonna long after them. Your eyes, it's gonna be so hard to see your kids get given away, and you can't do nothing about it. And with me being an educator, I see that in the school system. you know, and that curse has been brought all the way down to this time by defects, you know, defects. Our kids are put into the system and other people get paid to take care of.
Wow.
Other families get care of Israelite. And yes, that curse, you know, it's many Gentiles in the system, it's many Hispanics in the system, there are Hamites in the system. Yes, but for the most part, what you have seen the most of, families, huge families, young women, 5 kids, the system take all 5 of them. And they get dispersed throughout the system. One got to go live in Savannah. One gets sent to Florida. One gets sent to Atlanta. One gets sent to Valdosta. One gets sent up to, might get sent up to, North Georgia. And they don't get to see their families. Sometimes the parents don't have contact with them. They can't have contact with them based on what the government gives them in their stipulation, in these policies. And their parents long for it. I got a brother right now I just talked to last night. 2 of his kids are in the system. And I just call him sometimes just to talk to, just to listen to him talk about how his kids are in the system and he can't see them. He has to talk to his kids, communicate through them through a social worker.
Wow.
He has to send pictures to her to send to them. He has to send communications to the social worker to send to them. He cannot have contact with these kids.
Wow.
These are the curses, brothers and sisters. And it's hard. You don't hear many Gentiles complaining about their kids have gone into captivity. Their kids are getting sent off into the system and they can't talk to them. I hear majority, 99 of these cases come from Israelites. You know, so the Lord has, and he tells us, hey, you're going to be punished 7 times more. Right. So even if the curses come on other nations, you're going to get it 7 times worse. And like Brother Cephas said, hey, they said Israel couldn't get the pestilence. Just before they can get it out their mouth good, we was getting hit with. So, with that being said, brothers and sisters, our identity outside the Bible, the curses.
Can I interject real quick? You said something about the system now is real powerful, and you touched on that. Made me think about them. Even though we're not on a plantation physically now, what do you think these prison systems are built to be now? They couldn't get free labor out of you anymore. So guess what? Now it's set up to where if you have a felony on your record, guess what? They can get some labor out you now. You in the system. What do you think this prison system is? It's cheap, down, pennies on the dollar labor.
Unclean. They feeding them all. Feeding them all the unclean stuff in there. Little of nothing. The bottom of the barrel. The stuff that we. All the swine, that's what they feed them, and just marching orders. You can't go and come as you please. You go to bed when we go to bed, say go to bed, and you close your gate, your cell. So these curses are on us. These are to us, and like the brother was telling me last night, we have to accept this and know and follow God. We got to accept it. But he said the reason why people don't accept it because they don't want to accept it. They don't want to leave the tradition. They don't really want to accept. They hear us. So we're going to keep doing these lessons as much as possible. And like our elder brother Elijah say, hey, Black History run year round. We're going to continue to do lessons like this and continue to put the truth out on the table. We can open up the Bible anywhere. It's going to talk about Israel. It's going to talk about our predicament. And what we need to do is fear God and keep the commandments. That is the Negro solution. All right. So, hey, I pray that y'all have some understanding. A great lesson, Brother Cephas. Hey, don't even worry about the time. It was a great lesson, man. Great lesson, bro. Don't even think about it. Great lesson. Peace to everybody that tuned in. Peace, Miss Selena. Hey, peace, Miss Sandra. Peace, Brother Elijah. New face. I see he know you, Cephas. Peace, Sister Selena. Peace, Sister Mikhail. And peace, Miss Sandra. Peace, Sister Key as well. Brother Charles, Brother Isaac, Brother Charles, and Brother Tommy. Hey, I pray y'all have a great day. Almost to the Lord's Sabbath. So hey, we just finished the week strong, and Hey, I hope everybody, have a great day, and peace and blessings to everybody. Thank you again, Brother Steve.
Thank you for having me.
All right, peace in Jesus' name to everybody. Have
In
a great
Jesus'
day.
name.